Hello everyone, Raisa, Shafira, Affandi here. Today, we're tuning into the sound of poetry. We'll explore rhythm, rhyme, and musicality in verse. Let's get started. Our learning objectives for this module are 1. To gain understanding of poetry form and its elements, specifically those to do with audio elements like rhyme, rhythm, and repetition. And 2. To develop sensitivity to how the elements of form shape the reading experience. The sound of poetry. Poetry was originally an oral form, not written, so it plays a lot with sound even now. This can include rhythm, rhyme schemes, repeating sounds, and common forms of poetry that integrate the above 3. It's important to remember for this, as well as for the rest of the course, that this is less about memorizing concepts and more about giving names to sensations in reading poems so that you'll have greater awareness of them while reading. When you're aware of what's going on in a poem, the sounds, shapes, themes, conventions, and so on, it is easier for it to leave a lasting impression on you. First, let's look at rhythm. To understand rhythm in poetry, we need to know about syllables and meter. Syllables are units of pronunciation with one vowel sound. Syllable, that's 3 syllables in syllable. Meter is the rhythmic pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in one line of poetry. This pattern consists of units called feet, which are combinations of stressed and unstressed syllables. So what are stressed and unstressed syllables? I'll give you an example by reading it out loud, by looking at common feet. For iams that are marked with 1 dot followed by a dash, they are unstressed followed by stressed. So an example of that would be rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. So very exaggeratedly, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And so the first syllables, rough, are unstressed and winds are stressed. So next, for trochee, which is the opposite, stressed followed by unstressed, we have here William Blake's The Tiger, 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 burning bright. Now that may sound like an exaggeration, but when you read it casually, tiger, tiger, burning bright, you still get that sense of stressed followed by unstressed. We have anapaests, 2 unstressed syllables followed by 1 stress. For example, and the sound of a voice that is still, from Alfred Lord Tennyson. We have dactyls, stressed syllables followed by 2 unstressed syllables. So for example, Eve with her basket was deep in the bells and grass. Bells and grass may be a little awkward because grass can be a stressed syllable, but in general, this is a dactyl foot. Then we have amphibrach, stressed syllables surrounded by unstressed syllables. For example here, it's 4 in the morning, the end of December. I'm writing you now just to see if you're better. New York is cold, but I like where I'm living. There's music on Clinton Street all through the evening. So you can kind of see the sense of rhythm even by just reading the poem out loud. So when you want to figure out a poem's feet, that's what you can do. Read it out loud. Now, meter. Types of meter are based on the number of feet per line. When we talk about a poem's meter, it has information on the kind of feet it has, whether that's iambic or amphibrach from before, and how many feet it has per line. So for example, tiger, tiger, burning bright. It's stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed. So those are trochees, and there's 4 of them. Tiger, 1, tiger, 2, burning, 3, and bright, 4. So the meter for this poem would be trochaic tetrameter. Now, Shakespeare, for example, often uses iambic pentameter, which means each line has 5 iambs, unstressed followed by stressed. It may feel unnatural to apply this kind of rhythm to lines of poetry, But this technique is very well adapted to the English language. One example of iambic pentameter is, "It's easy when you think of it like that." Or very exaggeratedly, "It's easy when you think of it like that." Now, let's look at line breaks. Similar to what we discussed regarding enjambment, line breaks can also affect the rhythm of a poem. For example, because this poem's lines are very short, I am tempted to read it like, "So much depends upon a red wheel barrow glazed with rain, water, beside the white chickens." Now that's my own personal reading, but other people may read it differently. So you can think about, how does the length of a line affect how quickly or slowly you read the poem? Does it run smoothly, or are there often breaks in the rhythm? And most importantly, how does it affect your impression of the poem? Now let's look at rhyme schemes. A rhyme scheme is a pattern of sounds that repeats at the end of a line or stanza. Rhyme schemes can change line by line, stanza by stanza, or they can continue throughout a poem. Sometimes, poets may use internal rhymes, which are repeating patterns of sounds in the middle of a line instead of at the end. Rhyme patterns are usually encoded by letters of the alphabet. Lines designated with the same letter rhyme with each other. For example, the rhyme scheme ABAB means the first and third lines of a stanza, or the A's, rhyme with each other, and the second rhymes with the fourth line, or the B's rhyme together. Now, some poems have rhymes and some do not. How does this change your impression of the poem? So, for example, in the first poem, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings a tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm." So it has a very clear rhyme scheme of ABAB. Meanwhile, the other poem, "The hope I know doesn't come with feathers. It lives in flip-flops and in cold weather, a hooded sweatshirt, and like a heavyweight in training, or a monk who has taken a half-hearted vow of perseverance." So it may have a little bit of rhyming, but it's not very clear. Do you maybe focus more on the words instead of the sounds when this happens? Every person's reaction can be different. Now, there are more repeating sounds other than at the end of lines. For example, we have alliteration, which are repeated consonant sounds at the beginning of multiple words, such as "Lucy loves lace." We have assonance, which are repeated vowel sounds in multiple words, such as "Large cars far away are armored bizarrely." So there's a sound "ah" that repeats. Then we have consonants, which are similar to alliteration, but the consonant sounds are in multiple words and not just in the beginning. "Lucy loves all lace and almonds just like Albert, her lover." So the L repeats not just at the beginning, but anywhere within the words. So for example, in this poem, "Fame is a fickle food," there's a lot of alliteration. Fame is a fickle food, crumbs the crows inspect. And we can think about more repeating sounds in this poem by Amanda Gorman. Try to notice what kinds of vocal sounds are repeated and when and how. Does it create a sense of unity? What other feelings and reactions does it create in you? When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and the notions of what just is isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken but simply unfinished. Now that's something for you personally to think about. Now let's look at common forms of poetry. Because poetry follows a specific structure, the types of poetry are often grouped based on characteristics like how many syllables per line, what kind of feet and meter are used, how many lines per stanza, and what kind of rhyme schemes they use. So some popular ones include sonnet, ballads, villanelles, limericks, haikus, and even free verse, which is a bit more unstructured. And we're going to get into that in the next modules. So let's review what we've learned. Poetry was originally an oral form, so it plays a lot with sound even now. Some ways that poetry plays with sound are by using rhythm, playing with pausing and continuing, or with stressed and unstressed syllables. It can also play with rhyme schemes, patterns of repeating sounds at the ends of words and lines, or other types of repeating sounds, alliteration, assonance, consonants, which happen not just at the end of the line, but anywhere within the poem. Great job! Keep listening for the music hidden in every line. See you in the next session.